continuation of how I survived an abusive marriage. When I left Ebube and began rebuilding my life, I thought the storm was finally behind me. But storms don't always disappear quietly, sometimes they come back wearing new faces. And Ebube returned, not with fists this time, but with words sharper than the blows he used to deliver. He went from house to house, from relative to relative, telling everyone that I ruined our home. He claimed I disrespected him, insulted him, denied him peace. He twisted every memory until he became the victim and I became the villain. People who barely knew me suddenly formed opinions. Some shook their heads in disappointment. Some whispered behind my back. But the truth has a voice, and it always speaks, eventually. He reported me to my parents, standing before them with rehearsed tears, saying, "Your daughter abandoned her matrimonial home. She took my children and destroyed my name." My mother looked at him, long and hard, with the eyes of a woman who had seen too much. My father asked him one question, a simple question. "Did you ever hit her?" And Ebube's silence answered louder than any confession. He went to pastors. He went to uncles. He went to elders. He went to anyone who would listen. He painted me as rebellious. He painted himself as a man suffering. But every lie he spoke fell apart the moment people saw the truth in my eyes and the fear still lingering in my children's shadows. His words lost power. His performance lost audience. For the first time, Ebube learned that the world outside his home would not tolerate the monster he had once been allowed to be. Meanwhile, my life moved forward. Chisom and Lotana grew. They grew in strength, in wisdom, in ambition, watered by the sacrifices I planted silently in the dark. I worked morning to night, catering for events, cooking for offices, selling food in takeaway bowls just to pay for their education. And they never disappointed me. Chisom, once the frightened boy who hid under the table, grew into a confident young man. He became the first in his department at the university. His lecturers praised him. People who hired him for internships always said the same thing. "That boy is focused. He is going far." Lotana, my baby girl, the one who cried silently at night, grew into a brilliant and compassionate young woman. She pursued nursing to help people heal from wounds, the kind you see and the kind you don't. She said one day, "Mommy, I want to be the kind of person I needed when I was small." And in that moment, I realized that our pain had not broken us, it had shaped us. Life rewarded their resilience. Life rewarded my endurance. They became successful, not because we had everything, but because we survived everything. Ebube watched from a distance as the children he once neglected started shining in the world. He heard about Chisom's awards. He heard about Lotana's graduation. He heard about the new apartment I moved into, the peaceful life we built, the joy we found without him. And that is when life began to deal with him. His friends drifted away. His drinking companions vanished. The mistress who once whispered sweet lies to him walked away the moment his money dried up. He lost jobs, lost respect, lost the strength of his youth. Everything he used to boast about slipped through his fingers like sand. Years passed, and the man who once terrorized us now walked slowly, with a stoop in his back and regret in his eyes. He called sometimes, not to shout, but to cry. In his voice lived a brokenness I had never heard. The children refused to speak to him for a long time, not out of hatred, but out of unhealed wounds. They had grown up, but childhood scars do not understand age. Still, something remarkable happens when children mature, they begin to see the world with new eyes. They begin to understand that forgiveness is not acceptance, it is freedom. One day, Chisom said, "Mommy, maybe it's time we hear him out." And I nodded, because healing is a journey you cannot force. They went to see him, now an older man, sitting alone in a small compound, his once broad shoulders now fragile. When the children arrived, he stood up slowly, tears already pooling. "My children," he whispered, voice cracking, "I failed you. I failed your mother. I failed myself." He fell to his knees before them, the same knees that had once stood tall with pride. Lotana helped him up gently and said words that broke something inside me even when I wasn't there to hear them. "We forgive you, Daddy, but you must forgive yourself too." Ebube cried, not the dramatic crying he used to manipulate people with, but the kind that comes from a soul that has finally realized the weight of its own sins. And in that moment, forgiveness bloomed like a small flower in the ruins of everything he destroyed. But forgiveness does not erase history. The children forgave him. I forgave him. But none of us returned to the past. We forgave and moved forward. Ebube spent his remaining years quietly, visiting sometimes, sitting with his children, watching their success with a bittersweet smile, grateful for the small place he still had in their lives. And though life had humbled him more than any of us ever could, he died knowing one truth. The family he almost destroyed did not hate him. They healed without him. They grew without him. And they forgave him, but only after life itself taught him the lesson he refused to learn when it mattered most. In the end, the monster became a man again, not because we returned, but because time broke the chains he once wrapped around his own heart. And as for me, I lived. I overcame. I found peace. And that peace stayed.